They say if you drive past mile marker 117 after midnight, your radio turns itself on. No music, just a voice asking,
Can you see me?
Most people laugh because if you answer, it gets closer. Every mile the voice sounds clearer, breathing louder, like it's sitting in your back seat. Here's the rule nobody follows. Don't look in the mirror, because the moment you do, the voice stops asking. It starts whispering your name. Mirror flash, distorted face fills the frame. Radio screams static, hard white frame. You were never driving alone. On a dark, rainy Valentine's night, a mysterious gift appeared. She found it waiting at her door. For me? But instead of sweets, dried petals and a chilling note lay within. This isn't funny. A heavy thud echoed from the hall. In the mirror, something stood behind her. I'm here to claim your love. The lights flickered, then died. Cold hands reached from the darkness.
Did someone call me?
Don't look back.
I won't.
Every night, at exactly 3:17, the knocking begins.
What was that?
It didn't come from outside. It was coming from the closet.
Go away.
But it never does.
They used to punish the dead for waking up. In the early 1900s, doctors had a fear worse than death itself, being buried alive. So they created a test. If someone was declared dead, they'd place mirrors under the nose, needles under the fingernails, even burn the skin. No reaction meant one thing: you were officially dead. But records show some people woke up screaming during the tests, crying, begging, confused. Instead of being saved, doctors wrote them down as frauds, people pretending, people who wasted time. Some were restrained, some were sedated, a few were tested again. And here's the worst part: if you woke up once, they never believed you again.
I always thought the stories were exaggerated. Warnings passed around just to scare people into staying alert. That belief shattered the night I took the old service road home, the one nobody used anymore. The fog rolled in thick and heavy, swallowing my headlights until the world shrank to a narrow tunnel of light. That's when I saw it, standing perfectly still at the edge of the road, too tall, too thin, watching. And when I passed it, every instinct screamed that it was no longer behind me. Whatever I encountered didn't need to follow me. It already knew where I lived.
It started subtly, a whisper in the dark, a shadow where none should be. You dismissed it, a trick of the mind, you told yourself. But the whispers grew louder, the shadows deeper. They moved with you, around you. The air grew cold, heavy. You tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The walls closed in, the darkness consumed, and then you understood. It wasn't just watching, it was waiting. And now, it's here, right behind you. Night shifts are usually quiet. That night the cameras glitched. Something tall showed up in the stockroom feed, and then it was gone. I went to check. The aisles were empty, but a bag fell on its own. Then I heard the growl. Whatever it wasn't human. If your baby monitor ever says your name at 3 a.m., no cap, turn it off, and leave the room. Period. This isn't a glitch, and that's cap if anyone tells you otherwise. Rule 1. If the monitor picks up breathing when your baby isn't moving, don't listen closer. That sound isn't coming from the crib. Rule 2. If you hear your own voice coming through the speaker, don't answer back. It's not feedback. Feedback doesn't pause and wait. Parents reported it repeating phrases they never said out loud. Private thoughts, nicknames, stuff that was never recorded. That's cap. Until it happens to you. Rule 3. If the screen shows your baby asleep, but the blanket is breathing, don't go check. Whatever's awake isn't the child. Final rule, if the monitor says, you can come in now, don't, because your baby already did. When I was 12, my cousins lived on the edge of a forest so dense the sun barely hit the floor. My aunt's only rule? Stay out of the woods. Naturally, we ignored her. On day 1, a high-pitched scream ripped through the trees. It sounded like a little girl in pain. We froze, brushed it off as a fox. Then it happened again, closer. We bolted. That night, something tapped on my second-story window. The next morning, we found a battery-powered radio hidden in the bushes. It was playing that same scream on a loop. As the audio crackled, a man stepped out from the shadows. He was tall, gaunt, with a smile that felt like a threat. He beckoned us toward the tree line. We didn't wait. We ran, and the police were called. It wasn't a ghost or a monster. It was my aunt's ex-boyfriend. Did you know some cities have crosswalk buttons you're not supposed to press? This started as a rumor in a busy downtown district. Late at night, one crosswalk would change instantly. No waiting, no traffic. People thought it was broken. Then a woman pressed it at 2 a.m. The walk signal turned on, but the street stayed silent. No cars, no lights. Halfway across, she heard footsteps matching hers, but when she stopped, they kept going. The camera footage showed the truth. She crossed alone, but the button was pressed twice, once by her and once from the middle of the road. The police identified her body at 2:17 a.m. At 2:19, her phone dialed 911. This happened in Ohio in 2016. A missing college student, 3 days gone. They found her car abandoned near a rest stop, keys inside, phone missing. When they finally found her body, the coroner confirmed the time of death. 2 minutes later, a 911 call came from her phone. No voice, just breathing, slow, uneven, like someone trying not to cry. Dispatch traced the call. It wasn't coming from the crime scene. It was coming from a cell tower near her parents' house. Her phone was found later, powered off, battery dead. And the call? It was never explained. This happened in a downtown office building just after midnight. One man working late took the elevator down to the parking garage. Halfway down, everything went dark. The elevator stopped. No signal, no lights, just breathing in the dark. Then the doors opened. The doors closed again. The elevator moved, slow, deliberate. When power came back, he was found unconscious, 3 levels below the garage. The cameras showed the truth. The elevator made 6 extra stops that night, and someone kept pressing the button from inside. Some elevators don't just go down, they go beneath. Did you know the Illuminati isn't about power, it's about selection? People think it's politicians and billionaires. But that's the cover. The real test happens quietly. Former archivists claim certain symbols aren't logos, they're markers. If you notice them too often, you've already been noticed back. One man kept seeing the same triangle on street signs, on receipts, carved faintly into his apartment door. He thought it was coincidence until his phone rang at exactly 3:33 a.m. No caller ID, just breathing. The voice told him 3 things about his life, all true. Then it said, "You were never supposed to see us this clearly." The next morning, his apartment was empty, furniture untouched, computer still on, but every mirror was turned to face the wall. They say the Illuminati doesn't recruit, it erases the ones who look too closely. So if you ever start noticing the symbols everywhere, stop looking, stop connecting dots, because once you see the pattern, you become part of it. It was a routine 10-minute welfare check. No lights, mail stacked like a wall, and a smell, faint, metallic, and wrong. Inside, it was deep cold. On the table sat a single mug of coffee, no steam, no dust, just black liquid, ice cold, as if time had frozen mid-sip. Then we saw the boundary, a strip of painter's tape on the floor and dozens of tick marks scratched into the drywall. Beneath them, a warning, don't look up.
I thought I was alone in the house. Then I saw him in the doorway. He didn't say a word, just smiled. I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe until...
In 1989, people across one small town all woke up at the same time, 3:33 a.m. No alarms, no noise. They said the air felt heavy, like pressure on the chest. Some saw a tall shadow standing in their doorways. Others heard whispering from inside the walls. Inspectors found nothing. Within weeks, several residents moved away. They left everything behind. Houses still furnished, beds still made. Years later, leaked memos surfaced, marked civilian sleep compliance test. Every page after that was redacted. One unsealed note read, "Subject awareness increasing." The town still exists, lights still turn on at night, but no one lives there anymore.
It started with whispers, a love so pure it felt like destiny. He called me his everything, and I was foolish enough to believe him. Then the world began to shrink. "Just checking in," he'd say, his calls coming faster, his gaze lingering longer. My friends faded into the background until only he remained. One night, I returned to find the locks changed and the windows barred. "For your safety, my love," he murmured, stroking my hair. His touch, once a sanctuary, was now a cage. I tried to scream, but the air felt heavy, frozen. I realized then that love hadn't failed. It had simply finished its meal. I was no longer a partner. I was a possession. And now, I am his forever.
Did you know 7 people have died chasing treasure on Oak Island? And the island seems to respond every time someone digs too deep. It began in the 1700s. A boy, a depression in the dirt, a promise of buried riches. They dug down 10 feet, wooden planks, 20 feet, more planks, 30 symbols carved into stone, like warnings no one could read. Then the pit filled with seawater, not naturally, on purpose. They tried pumps. The water rose faster. They built tunnels. The tunnels collapsed. Men were pulled under by machinery, crushed by cave-ins, drowned in darkness where air should have been. Every generation thought they were smarter. Every generation paid for it. They call it the money pit. But nothing valuable has ever come out. Only bodies. Because whatever lies beneath Oak Island wasn't meant to be found. It was meant to be protected. And the island doesn't just hide its secrets. It waits for the next one to dig.
In 1892, the town of Exeter was dying, not from violence, but from breath slowly leaving the body. They said Mercy Brown was the cause, dead, yet feeding on her family from the grave. So we dug her up in the frozen ground. Her body hadn't rotted. Her lungs were intact. The men whispered the word vampire like a prayer. When they cut out her heart and burned it, the smoke smelled warm, like someone exhaling for the last time. That night, the coughing spread faster. Not sickness, but silence. People died peacefully, chests hollowed inward. That's when I understood. Mercy wasn't feeding on us. She was keeping something sealed, and now the ground was breathing again. I was alone in my apartment when my phone lit up. Front camera, recording. I hadn't touched it. On the screen, I was standing in my hallway, completely still, staring straight into the lens. I froze because behind me, in the video, the bathroom door was slowly opening. I turned around in real life. Nothing. But the video kept playing. My reflection smiled, then whispered, "You're not the one being watched." The recording ended. My phone locked itself, and the bathroom door behind me creaked open.
This emergency broadcast was never meant to cross borders, but it did. In 2019, during massive blackouts in Venezuela, radio operators across the southern US reported something strange. Shortwave radios started picking up a weak signal. Not music, not static, a voice. It was in broken English, repeating coordinates and the words, "We are still here." At first, people thought it was interference, but the coordinates, they pointed to abandoned oil facilities, places with no power. Then the signal changed. The voice started naming US cities, one by one, always ending with, "You're next." The broadcast stopped the moment power was restored. No source was ever found, but some radio operators swear their equipment still turns on by itself at night. I thought someone was breaking into my house. No cap, it started with little things. A window left open, objects slightly moved, and then the notes started appearing. Little yellow post-its stuck in the most random places. "Watching you," one said, stuck to the milk carton. Another on my bathroom mirror. Just a crude smiley face. I was terrified. I was losing sleep thinking I was going crazy. I finally bought a small camera and hid it on a bookshelf. I had to know who was doing this. The next morning, I checked the footage. My hands were shaking. The video was grainy, but clear enough. I saw myself walk into the kitchen, grab the post-its, and write. I watched myself stick one to the fridge, then go back to bed with no memory of it at all. The doctor later told me the gas leak in my apartment was causing carbon monoxide poisoning. I wasn't being haunted by a person. I was being haunted by myself. Did you know some rest stops in the Midwest still have emergency phones that ring after they've been disconnected? Truckers talk about one outside a cornfield-heavy stretch of highway. No lights, no cameras, just wind and bugs. The phone sits under a flickering lamp, officially dead since the 90s. No wire, no signal. But if you're there after midnight, it rings once, then stops. If you answer, there's breathing, slow, wet, like someone holding dirt in their mouth. A state trooper once picked it up. The voice said his name, then listed every mile marker he'd passed that night. They found his cruiser idling an hour later, door open, boot prints leading into the corn, and stopping. Locals say the phone doesn't call for help, it checks who's alone. So if you hear a phone ring at a rest stop that shouldn't work, don't answer. And whatever you do, don't let it ring twice. They say the ice never melted, even when the power's been dead for years. Teenagers sneak in at night, but none stay past the second period buzzer. I just want to see if it's real, no cap. Because every time you step on that sheet, you hear skate edges that weren't yours. They found benches still littered with gold medals, frozen beers, and a Zamboni key in the ignition. Nobody took a trophy home since 2006, when the manager locked up at intermission and vanished. Locals swear the penalty lights flicker on at 10:17, like the rink keeps running its own overtime. You hear that? And if you skate center circle, footprints trail behind you with double edges. Last explorer hit record, heard a puck slap, then his phone screen iced over inside his jacket. Would you finish the overtime or leave the ghost goalie a winner? Do you know there's a rule transit workers never say out loud? No cap, if you break it, something follows you home. It's called the last stop rule. To play, you ride a bus or train past midnight. Stay on until it reaches the final stop. Everyone gets off, you don't. When the doors close, don't look at your phone reflection. That's cap, they say it's just glass. It's not. You'll feel the engine idle too long. Then the announcement plays again, quieter. Same stop, different voice. After that, the ride resets. Same streets, same turns, but every loop, one more seat behind you is taken. In 2022, a real night bus in Chicago glitched on CCTV. 3 loops, 1 passenger never stood up. Driver swore the bus was empty. They found the bus parked at the depot, engine cold, doors open. One security frame just says, "Final stop accepted." When the alert glitched again, someone pulled the fire alarm. Nothing happened. No sirens, no lights, just a quiet click, like someone hung up a call. Then the emergency speaker laughed. Not a voice, a sound file, reused, distorted. It said,
"Evacuation disabled. Human error detected."
That's when I noticed the red light on the speaker was blinking faster, like it was excited. Later, the fire marshal said the alarm system was fully functional, but the wires, they'd been cut from the inside. Did you know there's a real test where one choice keeps you alive and the other ends everything? You wake up in a locked train car, 2 buttons, you have 45 seconds to press 1. If time runs out, you're done. Button 1 stops the train instantly. Lights come on, doors unlock. Feels safe, right? Button 2 keeps the train moving. No lights, no control, but there's a screen showing one thing, the track ahead. Here's what they don't tell you. The train is headed toward a collapse zone. Stopping early traps you inside forever. Only moving forward clears the exit. Most people smash button 1. They never make it out. You choosing safety or survival? Your phone just went off. This is not a test. You have 8 seconds to choose. Ignore the alert or follow the instructions exactly. No cap. This choice matters. If you ignore it, the alert stops. Everything feels normal. Too normal. No sirens, no people, no cars. That's cap, right? You walk outside and realize every house on your street is empty. Lights on, doors open, like everyone left at the same time. If you follow the alert, it tells you to stay indoors, turn off all lights, and do not look outside after sunset. That's crazy, but you listen. At exactly 9:17 p.m., every phone in your house buzzes again. Same message, one line added. They can see hesitation. Whatever choice you made, something just noticed. That's not a story. That's your warning.